New life with old love. So have you two made love yet? Frank barely managed not to cringe when he asked, hating his weak voice almost as much as the bad news he was getting. He blinked to hide his watery eyes, or maybe to make the nightmare go away, but it didn't pass. He stood in the living room looking at his wife of 4 years while she held hands with some man named Ralph. He looked and was a former athlete, a bit of a bully when he could get away with it, and a successful car salesman. Frank, please. I'd rather not answer that question, Anna said in the most compassionate voice she was capable of, but answered anyway. Were there others? Frank, I mean when we were married. Frank, knowing that would only hurt you, she said soothingly, confirming it once again. Damn it. Frank felt like a complete fool for thinking he had the perfect marriage and even bragged about it when he was with his friends. Now he wondered how many of them had slept with her, busting their asses laughing while he praised her. I thought you loved me, he whimpered, hating his weak voice. And I do. You have to believe me. You're gentle, caring, loving, and I love that about you, but it's not all I want out of life. Ralph is bigger, more muscular, more demanding, more masculine. He leads, not just offers. He does things, Frank, in every way. His smirk and her blush left no doubt what she meant. And he has more money. And he has more money, yes. I don't want to spend my life just making ends meet. I want to go places, see lots of interesting things, try everything life has to offer. Frank simply could not imagine life without his beloved wife. She was his one and only, and even though she had caused him great pain, he was ready to swallow his pride, ignore her cheating, start over and try to fix his marriage. She was still his woman. He was willing to fight, to take some of the blame if necessary. Anna, I know I've neglected you a bit to start my business. Frank, I could put up with it if this business of yours would lead to anything, but it won't. You know that as well as I do. Anna, I love you. Once my business gets going, we'll have lots of money, he said, ignoring her pessimistic look. In a way, I still love you too, Frank, she said, almost managing to look like she really meant it. But it's not enough. I'm sorry I hurt you so much, but it's over between us. Don't try to fight it. It won't hurt so much if you just accept it and move on. Ralph watched this spectacle with a smirk on his face. He could wipe the floor with Frank with one hand tied behind his back, and Frank knew it. It was much more amusing to watch Anna deliberately break his heart and balls while claiming to love him. Be good, okay? I know you will be. You'll find someone else soon enough. Goodbye, Frank, she said softly but firmly. Frank tried to turn away before they could see his tears, but he was too late. Anna gasped, and Ralph giggled. Ralph, she reprimanded. She asked herself again, had she done the right thing? However, the decision had been made, and she had to honor it. 4 years later, Anna and her husband stood in front of a huge, sterile-looking mansion. Both were tense. Too much depended on this meeting. It was very difficult for both of them. Finally, Ralph plucked up his courage and rang the damn bell. Anna, said the man who opened the door simply, not seeming as surprised as she had expected at her unannounced appearance. Frank? Is that you? The guy vaguely resembled her ex-husband, but his appearance just radiated money. He was dressed expensively, but casually. He had also lost a lot of fat and gained a lot of muscle, resulting in a completely different posture. He also radiated a faint sadness. Please come in, he replied in the same neutral tone. They cautiously followed him into the large foyer and entered the living room. Everything was huge, modern, stylish, and mostly white. The whole house looked like it had stepped off the pages of an architectural magazine, yet it seemed lifeless. It felt like a high-end furniture store. Anna didn't know whether to be happy about it or not. No. The more she thought about it, the more horrified she became. She had inadvertently destroyed this man. He clearly lived alone. The house looked as if a woman had never lived in it. It looked expensive and depressing at the same time. Frank, how are you? How are you feeling after our breakup? How do you think? Well, you look good. You got a lot of money now. You're well informed. His tone was neutral as hell. Yeah, we've all heard about your success, all our old friends. They're probably still laughing at me, he interrupted her. What? You think? Oh, no. None of them know about my, indiscretions, except the ones I've slept with, she thought. So you've heard about my success. Right, Ralph spoke for the first time. Frank still couldn't stand the arrogant asshole. Nevertheless, the situation could be amusing in its own way. So what do you want? He already knew what they wanted, but he wasn't going to make it easy for them. Frank, I know you probably don't like me very much. Best statement of the year, Frank thought. Still, this visit is business-related, and I think it will be good for both of us to put aside our old differences. Oh, it will certainly be useful to me, thought Frank. You see, Ralph has a business idea, Anna intervened. I thought you wouldn't bother waiting for new business ideas. She just stared at him, stunned. After a few seconds, she regained her composure. Frank, please don't think I left you for money. You didn't? You said you loved me, but money was tight, and you wanted to live life to the fullest. Or something like that. Frank, you were the most loving, gentle man I'd ever known, but you lacked determination. Sometimes I needed someone to just take responsibility for life and for me. And that person was Ralph, the failed car salesman, the guy who had taken charge of his life and now came to me, the indecisive weakling, and asked for money. They were both stunned. They had expected some hostility, but not such sarcastic and hurtful remarks made in such an annoyingly neutral tone. It was hard to react, because what he'd said was so obviously true, and they weren't supposed to push Frank away. Too much depended on it. Ralph was the first to regain his composure. Frank, I know we'll probably never be friends because of because of what happened, but this is strictly business, and I'm looking for an investor. I have an idea to become a rental manager for companies that lack... I don't care, Frank rudely interrupted him. This is something new, Anna thought. Frank had been a surprisingly polite man in the past. I see. Ralph tried to hide his disappointment. This was his last chance. He was in danger of total financial ruin if Frank didn't help him. But I'll give you the money. What? They both exclaimed. I'll make a deal with you, but not the deal you think. Frank still spoke smoothly and calmly, but there was steel behind his words. This was no longer the gentle, compassionate, and completely harmless Frank they had left behind. Anna thought it was a pity that that man seemed to have disappeared. In his own way, he was one in a million. He cooked for her, pampered her, made tender, sensual love, but somehow he wasn't enough for her. Living with Ralph had made her appreciate the old Frank more and more, but now he seemed no longer to be who he was. Her motives for her visit were somewhat different than Ralph's, though her husband didn't know that. Mostly, she wanted to know if there was any chance that she and Frank would get back together, but that now seemed unlikely. The man she had known seemed to be gone, destroyed, or at least changed by her actions. The loss of this uniquely sensitive person suddenly became a heavy burden for her. I will give you 50,000 euros, 25,000 in advance, and 25,000 after the deal is finalized. Is that okay with you? Wow, yes. I mean, God, 50,000. That's fantastic. What do I have to do for that? I'll borrow Anna for 4 weeks. Oh, Ralph said meekly, surprising both Anna and Frank. There was no outburst of indignation, not even a feigned one to retain some pride. There wasn't even a hesitation. Ralph was evidently even more desperate than Frank had expected. Anna looked almost pleased. Anna? What do you think? Wait, what does that include? I'm not going to hurt her in any way. I just want to spend a few weeks with my ex-wife, for old time's sake, so to speak. The smile he bestowed on the desperate couple was small and cold, but there was more expression in it than the ones he'd shown so far. Oh, Anna, what do you think? Well, it seems to be the only option we have, right? She tried to hide the fact that she was very happy about the suggestion. She was almost jubilant, but if Ralph sensed it, the deal would be off, and the wonderful chance to win back her ex-husband that she had so unexpectedly gotten would be gone. Ralph, as usual, did not notice such subtleties. He saw only the money, as he always did. She saw that Frank noticed everything. He was still as shrewd as ever. No doubt that, combined with his intelligence, was one of the reasons for his economic success. What was she thinking when she cheated on the man of her dreams and left him for this poser? Yes, it would seem so. Ralph also tried to hide his delight. This was the miracle he'd been hoping for. This was the chance he needed, and he was going to make the most of it. He could certainly do without her for a few weeks, though he would miss her terribly, and he would have to put her in the hands of her wimpy ex. Though he might not show it as much as these unmanly so-called modern men like Frank would, he did love her. The thought of pandering to her was abhorrent, but it seemed an acceptable sacrifice for their long-term future. Soon he would be richer than even Frank, and then this idiot could be quickly forgotten about. When would that start? It's up to you. You'll get $25,000 as soon as we get started. Anna? Ralph asked, hoping she would agree. Do I have to stay here right now? I don't have any clothes with me. Oh, don't worry. We'll buy whatever you need, Frank explained. We will? Oh, wow. Ralph felt a little awkward hearing that. Ever since he'd managed to steal her away from her loser husband, things had been going downhill financially. Money had been short for a long time, and Anna had a backlog of purchases. He couldn't compete with Frank economically, and for the first time he imagined how Frank must have felt when they switched roles 4 years ago. Well, I guess I could use a cash infusion as soon as possible. What do you say, honey? Is it okay if you stay here right away? I don't want to think about it too much or I'll get nervous. It's better to get it over with now. I guess, Anna began, trying to sound more reluctant than she really was. I guess I'd agree. You don't love him anymore, do you? Ralph, this is hard enough as it is, please. Let's not make it any harder by digging into old feelings and memories. Don't forget that I'm doing this for you. That should be proof enough of my love. She spoke softly and calmly, just like she had 4 years ago when she told Frank she was leaving him. She placed her hand gently on her husband's arm and looked into his eyes, willing him to believe her. She needn't have worried. He was completely blinded by greed at that moment. All right, I'll leave immediately. That's probably the easiest thing to... Hey, what about my money? Oh, of course. Wait, I'll get it. Don't we need some kind of contract? No, Ralph. That wouldn't be enforceable anyway. I'll just give you the money and she'll stay here. Why shouldn't I trust you two? Frank said, still remaining in that insanely neutral tone. It hurt her a little, but Ralph didn't seem to notice it. She suddenly felt disgusted with him, and with herself for choosing him to be her husband. Frank was amazed at how easily they had given up. He had anticipated their visit and had devised his plan days before. Everything had gone more or less smoothly, but he had expected a harder bargain and a higher price. Even $100,000 or more would be a penny to him, and it was worth it. Frank went to his office, took the $25,000 out of the safe, and silently held it out to Ralph, avoiding touching his skin. Ralph looked at the roll-up as if he had just won the lottery. Frank knew it wouldn't last long. Ralph was even deeper in debt than Japan, and his so-called business plan was laughable. Still, it was his last hope, and he clung to it. All right, man. Thanks, I guess. You can go now, Ralph. Yeah, I just want to kiss her goodbye, you know? No, she's mine now. You've got the money. The 4 weeks have started. What? Oh, good. It's amazing. Nothing else hinted at the arrogant, ruthless jerk who'd taken his wife away from him. He was already a defeated man, and there was more bad news waiting for him. This guy carried a big, flashing neon sign that read, "Loser." Frank thought he probably suspected that himself, and almost felt sorry for him. Okay, I'd better go then. Surprisingly, he did, without too much fuss or unnecessary words. Frank went back to where Anna was waiting for him. Oh, there you are. Where's Ralph? She carefully avoided the word husband. Instead of answering, he simply walked over to her, took her head in his hands, and kissed her deeply and passionately, meeting no resistance. After a brief hesitation, she even participated enthusiastically. Yes, she remembered, no one knew how to kiss like Frank. She also remembered that no one could massage her feet like he could. No one could match him in cooking skills, and no one could make tender and caring love like he could. All he'd lacked 4 years ago was a tiny modicum of masculine aggressiveness and strength. But she was sure he had that now. And of course, the money. As he began to complete what she considered the kiss of the century, she didn't want to let him go. Wow, she finally exclaimed, still a little out of breath. You certainly haven't forgotten how to do it. I haven't practiced that much. Don't tell me. No one. You're the last woman I touched. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh, Frank. I didn't know. I feel... She seemed genuinely shocked. It doesn't matter. You can make it up to me now. Her smile was back in full force. Oh, yes, I'm going to. When do we start? Looks like you own me now. Yes, we'll start right away. To her surprise, he picked her up easily in his arms and carried his joyfully squealing purchase across the house, clearly heading for one of the bedrooms. His newly emerged muscles were incredibly arousing to her. They undressed in record time and pounced greedily on each other. Anna couldn't believe how good it felt to make love again after such a long break. Lovemaking with Ralph was good, too. She was starved for her husband, for his selfless way of pleasing her woman. She was determined to be that kind of woman again in the future. No, she would not let him get away with it. This time she will do the ultimate favor, she thought, after her mind cleared. After they lay cuddled against each other in post-coital bliss for several moments, she was finally able to speak again. God, how I needed this. She caught herself before she could say how much she missed it. Better to avoid the past for as long as possible, she decided. It was the best love of her life, she said seriously. Yeah, it was pretty good, wasn't it? Hell, it was just great, Anna. Yes. To his surprise, tears ran down her face. Thank you, Frank. For everything. He just nodded, and she couldn't decipher his expression. Something had changed, but she couldn't figure out what. All in all, everything was just fine. So, my lady, it's 4 o'clock in the afternoon. What are we going to do for the rest of the day? Oh, I feel so good. I guess I could just relax and, Go shopping? He interrupted her. He knew it would cheer her up. It always did. She was instantly fully awake. Do you think we could? I think... He paused dramatically. Just do it. Okay, I'll rush over to your shower. She jumped out of bed like crazy, smiling happily. By the way, where's the shower around here? She looked around, still a little puzzled by the size of the house and even this bedroom. This door... Wow. The bathroom alone was the size of Ralph's living room. A bathtub stood lonely in the center of the room. Next to the huge window, which had an amazing view, was a shower without a stall. Heck, she could get used to this. No, she would get used to it, she chuckled inwardly. She would try to never lose control of this wonderful man again. The shopping trip that followed completely satisfied her remaining feminine needs. After mindlessly spending several thousand euros on clothes and feminine necessities, she realized again how much she would enjoy her new life with her old love. No worries, no searching for bargains, no excuses, no discussions. It was all so simple. She wanted something. She got it. Around 7 o'clock, they chose a first-class restaurant, and she almost laughed with happiness when she realized that the prices didn't embarrass Frank in the slightest. It was certainly doing her good. As a nuisance, Ralph interrupted her blissful state by calling her on an old, cheap Android phone. She just waved him off. Not now, she thought, and smiled lovingly at Frank again. Anna had no problem getting into this lifestyle. In no time at all, a shiny new convertible was in the garage, her closet was completely revamped, and she had a brand new iPhone. They made love at least once a day, and it was every bit as amazing as the first time. For a man who claimed he hadn't been in a relationship for 4 years, he had certainly changed a lot. But maybe she had changed. Maybe she now appreciated him for what he'd always been. Maybe she respected him more because of his wealth. No matter, everything was just fine. Her paradise was only disturbed by frequent calls and messages from Ralph. Rejecting them was like chasing away a fly. She quickly changed his name in her contact list from husband to Ralph. It was a considered decision regarding his future status in her life. From time to time, she returned his calls and texts, but was determined to let him go as soon as she saw him in person again. Life with Frank had gotten so much better. Surprisingly, it had gotten even better within a few days. A large suitcase was waiting for her in the middle of their bedroom. Anna looked at her new man with a puzzled expression on her face. Pack everything you need, but don't think about it too much. We can always buy what we need wherever we are. Oh, wow, she squeaked. Where are we going? How about the European capitals for starters? Rome, Paris, Vienna. He was interrupted by her exclamation while he smiled happily at her. It was a pleasant moment for both of them. In the weeks that followed, they were shopping and making amazing love in Rome and Paris before heading to a luxury resort in the Maldives. If Anna could be any happier than she was now, she'd probably explode, she thought, purring contentedly after another glorious love-making session. She had her man back, correcting a grave mistake, and was living the life of her dreams, better than she could have imagined even in her wildest dreams. Neither of them showed any interest in talking about the past, and to her surprise, his growing company didn't seem to require his presence at all. He could spend all his time with her, and that was exactly what he did. After a few weeks of complete bliss, Anna found herself back in their luxurious home. Their home. That was how she thought of it, though she intended to bring a feminine touch to it as soon as possible. By now, she loved Frank as much as she had ever loved anyone. This life, this man, was all she wanted and needed. Her responses to Ralph's pesky attempts to contact her were fewer, which unfortunately led to more messages, requests, and promises. She was well aware of how much she was tormenting him, and was determined to let him go as soon as they met in person again. She was finally Frank's woman again, as she should have been all along. Ralph was just a mistake, a momentary aberration. She was lounging on the terrace, catching the rays and perfecting her already beautiful tan, when the doorbell rang. She wasn't expecting visitors, but that didn't bother her too much. Frank would deal with it, just like everything else. She was his woman to the end and trusted him completely. A shadow obscured the sun, and she was finally forced to open her eyes. Damn it. Ralph. She didn't want to see him. She didn't need him anymore, but she knew she had to end it sooner or later. Anna, was all he said. He definitely looked deeply unhappy, but his feelings didn't matter anymore. She couldn't see the analogy to her own attitude when she'd broken up with Frank 4 years ago. Oh, Ralph. Okay, not the best thing to say. The problem was that there wasn't much she wanted to say to him. He was part of her past. She just hadn't told him about it yet. You could have returned a few of my calls or messages, you know. Ralph, it's different now. It hurt. You could see it in his already worried face. He obviously guessed what was in store for him and took it as hard as Frank had 4 years ago. Why do men have to be such wimps when it comes to important moments in life? What do you mean? He wheezed. Damn. She hoped he wouldn't embarrass himself by begging or crying. Her respect for this loser was low enough as it was, even without the awkward scene. Well, Frank and I are sort of reunited. I plan on staying with him. Let's make this as quick and painless as possible, okay? Anna. Damn, he was really gonna cry. Even the old Frank from 4 years ago showed more dignity than this male wreck in front of her. You can keep almost everything from the divorce. I just need a few personal items. Anna, you can't do that. I love you. Anna, please. Damn, this was going to get ugly. And this is coming from a man who was willing to sell me for a few €1,000? She asked in a harsh tone. Anna, we both decided to do it. You can't accuse me of this, Ralph pleaded. Ralph, she said, changing her strategy and trying to sound compassionate. Frank and I realize that we still love each other and he has more money, he interrupted her. Yes, he has more money, but that's not the point. That's right, stupid. You left him for me when I had more money than he did, and now the roles are reversed, and you're jumping ship again. Well, She didn't have a good answer for that. It was the truth. Not all of it, but the truth. She saw that Frank was watching the whole scene with an amused smile on his handsome face. She was relieved to see him. He would take care of her again and deal with this unpleasant situation. She couldn't wait to get rid of Ralph and get on with her new dream life. Frank, would you give Ralph his money? I think we should settle this as soon as possible. Sure, you're right. Ralph, here's your $25,000. I'm sure it'll do you a lot of good. Really? Ralph asked, suddenly furious. You think I'd give up the woman I love for a lousy 50,000? No, but you were willing to rent her out. Then what does that mean? She's staying with you. She's not staying. We made a deal and I'm holding up my end. Anna stays with me for 4 weeks and you get your money. She's yours again. Enjoy. Frank, said Anna, suddenly feeling uneasy. Surely Frank wouldn't let her go after they had spent the best time of their lives together. The 4 weeks are up, and I want to thank you both for the deal, Frank said calmly. To say that Anna was shocked would be a vast understatement. Frank, honey, you can't be serious, can you? You're not going to dump me after 4 amazing weeks just because of some stupid deal with Ralph, are you? Yes, I am. I gave Ralph my word, and I'm going to keep it. Frank, we're back together again, like we always should have been. Please, honey. This can't be real, can it? In a matter of minutes, she went from cloud 9 to misery. Did I ever say a word about wanting to be with you again? No. I wanted to regain my masculine confidence, and I think love helped a lot with that. You kept saying it was the best love of your life, and you certainly meant it. Ralph cringed slightly when he heard that. But you never realized that you did almost nothing to make it happen. I did the things that made it good, and all you did was get it. Now I know I can make just as good love with other women. Of course, I also like the fact that you decided to kick Ralph to the curb for me. I don't think it'll help your future relationships, but I don't care. It'll definitely help mine, whoever it is. Was all she could say, still not coping with the new situation. Perhaps I also wanted to show you what you could have had if you had decided to stay 4 years ago. I'm sure the 4 weeks we had will give you fond memories while you're living with Ralph in some cheap apartment, barely making ends meet. I also wanted to show you both how quickly you're ready to jump ship again as soon as a better opportunity comes along. I can't believe, she stammered. Ralph, could you help her pack her things? He turned to his ex-wife. You can keep the clothes I bought for you. Not all is lost, see? You've got a new phone and a new closet, a taste of the good life you could have had, and Ralph has 50,000 to blow on silly business plans. Frank wasn't surprised that Ralph wasn't too happy with the situation. Yes, he had his woman back, but she had explicitly stated that he was her second choice. She had also demonstrated how quickly she would leave him for someone else, just as she had left Frank for him. The future of their relationship was shaky at best. It didn't help that Anna said that love was so much better with Frank. Both Ralph and Anna realized that their relationship was doomed. Anna didn't want to be disgraced like her men, and was determined to handle the role reversal with dignity and without futile entreaties. Without saying a word, with an impassive face, she stood up, took Ralph by the hand, and led him into the bedroom she had shared with Frank for a brief, wonderful time. She was determined not to cry, and she didn't, even though her life had turned into a stinking pile of shit in the blink of an eye. Ralph helped her put her things into one of her suitcases, which still sported the airline sticker with the return flight from the Maldives. It seemed to mock her, another reminder of her failure. Ralph carried the suitcase silently to his car while Anna took one last look at Frank. He stood expressionless. Wow, she thought. Can't say I blame him for what I did to him. He had a chance to get even, and he did it gracefully and smartly. She envied the woman who would grab hold of this handsome man. She only nodded, smiled briefly, and followed her soon-to-be ex to his car. The ride home passed in silence. Ralph concentrated grimly on driving, fearful that the thin thread that held his composure would break. He remembered all too well the feeling of superiority and smugness he had felt 4 years ago when he had wrested this beautiful woman from an inferior man. The wheel had turned, and now he was a loser, in business, in love, and in life. Anna looked out the window. She saw Frank, as she had left him today, and as she had left him 4 years ago. In many ways, he was no longer the same. His financial status, his body, his confidence, and assertiveness were all completely different. He could still make her body sing with pleasure, but back then he'd done it out of love for her. Now he was doing it, as he said he would, to build his confidence. He had once loved her with all his heart, but now he didn't love her at all. She looked at Ralph's grim face. It was plainly written on his features that she had destroyed him too. Suddenly, Anna began to dislike herself. Was she really that shallow? Would she really destroy the next man too if he didn't meet her strict financial standards? Twice already she had jumped ship in search of what she thought were the best options. It hadn't done her any good. Perhaps it was time to try something else. Frank realized he was finally truly free. It wasn't so much about revenge as it was about regaining his self-confidence, and he felt that he had completely succeeded. He would finally be able to accept the dating offers that had been sprinkled at him lately. There were far hotter and friendlier women than Anna among them. He didn't care about money hunters. He wasn't thinking about a long-term relationship. It was just his turn to have fun, enjoy life, and that's what was going to happen. The end